Hey, Radical fans, I'm Phil.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're here to talk about integrating loft into your game. And there's some definitions or descriptions of what loft really is versus hitting up on it versus hitting out on it.
Yep.
When to use it, why use it, and can you do it?
Yeah, and you know what I find is a lot of people do it naturally. Some people don't do it. But lofting is actually more of like a timing mechanism. Like the later your timing is, the more often you're probably going to loft it. Or how long the ball is on your hand.
Right.
People who have tighter thumb holes, they tend to loft it. Why?
Yeah.
Because they lift up on it.
Sure, they hit up on
later.
it. Right.
So there's a lot of different versions of lofting the ball, right? You're never going to really need to loft the ball 3 feet out in the lane.
Unless you're bowling on tour in a major,
yeah,
they make you play
you're
seventh arrow.
Exactly, and you don't have a lane there to do it. Sure, we do loft the ball,
right.
But when you're a league, your generic league, if you even were just to get the ball 1 foot out of the lane, that's going to change your ball motion drastically.
Sure.
So integrating that, sure, like 12 inches of loft. I don't want people to go out there and practice getting it 20 feet down the lane like we have to sometimes.
Right.
It's just not feasible, and that's something you need a league.
Yeah, and some people don't understand that when you loft the ball, you may not change the amount of hook, you change where it hooks.
Yes, and how far
and
down
how
the
far
lane.
down the lane before it does
Yeah,
react.
so the motion may not change front to back, or I'm sorry, left to right, like how much it hooks, but it will change front to back and when it happens.
Right.
So,
yeah, if you're getting hooking a board 20 boards, it may still hook 20 boards. It'll all be in the last 10 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really lofting is about how long is the ball on your hand. That the hand, like you don't want to change your game up, you don't want to change your timing, change things like that. You want to change how long it is on your hand. So if you're focusing on trying to get better at lofting it, focus on keeping the ball on your hand a touch longer. And we're never going to teach people to squeeze the ball per se, but just release it later is the best way to describe it.
Right, and the advantage is it adds another dimension to your game. I mean, obviously, you know, some people tuck their pinky, some people do. I mean, there's different things you can do to change the roll.
Exactly.
You know, and the loft is one, and it's for some people it's pretty easy.
Yes.
But for others, it could be a nightmare.
I find that the taller you are, the easier, because you're already so far up.
That's true.
Where when you're shorter and close to lane, you're going to find yourself lifting up more.
Right.
So if you're taller and all you have to think about is stay a little taller to loft it, sure.
So when would you integrate loft into your game as you're bowling in, say, a tournament or a league?
Towards the end of blocks, I find myself the last few years having to loft it a lot more.
Okay.
And that's because the lanes just are hooking so much. I bowl with so much rev rate all the time that the lanes just get chewed up.
So let me change that word from where to how do you add that to your game without screwing up your timing and your approach?
So I actually have to focus on making my timing a touch later. That way it's on my hand a little longer.
So do you move the ball later in your approach?
I move my ball a touch later, but I also move up on the approach a touch to make my steps a little slower in the beginning because I know that when I accelerate, I'm going to try to accelerate more on the way up.
Right.
So there's going to be more of an acceleration point where when I'm trying to roll it into the ground, I don't try to accelerate it into the ground.
Right.
I try to roll it with it.
Yeah.
So I talk a lot about accelerating and decelerating when I coach.
Okay.
You never want to decel.
No.
So decelerating is losing energy, doing different things.
Right.
When you talk about lofting, you want to accelerate later.
Later.
So the later you do it, the better, and the farther the ball will go down the lane.
But it's not just I'm going to throw it further out on the lane.
No.
It starts in the back on the approach when you set yourself up.
Exactly. And what you don't want to get into is if you have really good ball roll, you're bowling good, and you're like, well, let's loft it a foot or two.
Right.
And you start to loft it 4 feet, you lose ball roll because you're starting to throw the ball now. You're no longer rolling it. That's why when you look at guys from the past like Mika, to everybody, it looked like he lofted a long way. He just released it late.
He's tall.
He released it very late. He was still rolling the ball in the air. It just happened to be farther out than others.
Yeah, and one of the things years ago we used to teach about getting the ball out on a lane is you don't want to get a ball out on the lane going in an up motion.
No,
you want it in an out motion, like a plane landing on a runway.
Right.
It glides into the lane as opposed to that hump and hit. Because once that hump and hit, that changes the way the ball rolls from that point forward.
And for those of you that are going to go practice or want to integrate lofting, put a 12 by 12 towel on the front of the approach and just visualize yourself getting it over that towel.
Right.
And that'll be a good step.
Yeah, don't look 70 feet down the lane and try to throw it to that point.
Please do not. The farthest, you can change ball motion a lot by just moving your release point a touch.
Right.
A foot more out on the lane, that ball may go 3 to 4 feet farther.
Right. That's it. That's good. Good topic. Yeah, it was good. Thank you for writing that one in. Again, people, sometimes we don't even think about those things.
Yep.
Because you do them naturally, but helping the public and our fans integrate that into their game. But again, as Andrew said, it starts back further. It's not, I'm going to go normal and just throw it further out on the lane.
Yeah, there's a lot
to be a
that goes
hole
into it.
behind it. Seek a coach out if you need some help with that too. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with some more in the near future.